And how about working on 6 Feet Under? Because I love that show. That must have been an incredible experience.
It's a blast, you know. I mean, it's, you know, just everyone on that show is so damn talented. You know, it's a really talented group. They get great directors, they get great actors. They, you know, Alan Ball and those guys are just spot on in what they do. So it's just, that was really fun. I was just able to.
What did they see in Mulholland? Was that the way that they migrated to you?
I don't know. I actually don't know how they
Right.
how they found me.
I'm curious because I think, has David attempted to do something at BAM? Did he not theatrically?
I don't know.
Back in the 90s, and I just wondered if you could see him moving this kind of world into a theatrical world, into something experimental off Broadway. Did you guys ever talk about those things when you were off camera?
Never talked about. I know he loves. The only thing I know, as far as theater goes, that he loves, I know is that he loves physical theaters. Like he loves
the spaces.
He loves spaces.
Yeah.
He loves seeing a curtain rise.
Well, Mulholland Drive, you have one.
Yeah.
Eraserhead, he made one.
Yeah. I don't know how much interest he'd have in doing a play or something.
I'd be curious to see what his vision would be.
Yeah, I would
in
too.
that context.
I would too.
He seems to be loyal and have an entourage mentality with the actors that he likes to work with, and they seem to come back to him.
Yeah, I think anyone who works with him loves coming back to work with him because he's just, again, it's, you know, it defies, he defies every sort of cliche of what it is to work on a movie set, and it's so much damn fun. It really is.
Now, your movie within the movie, as it would be, I guess, because there's so much speculation on what the movie means, but for me, as someone who thinks I've understood some aspect of it, there was almost a certain Tennessee Williams vibe to the movie that was being shot within the movie.
Yeah.
Did you feel that at all? How did you relate to the character you're playing in the movie and Laura's character? And the fact that you have Jeremy Irons playing this director who's trying to get this incredible performance from two actors.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely, and not just in this film, but in other films, has sort of latched on to Hollywood as a metaphor for something, and I think it's just an element that gives him access to the themes that he wants to explore. And then there's something that's just sort of downright, in the best sense, corny about some of the themes in which he exploits. You know, I remember seeing Blue Velvet for the first time, and you know, there's that sort of, you know, white picket fences and hummingbirds and you know, weird 50s fire truck that goes by, and you know, with the fireman waving and stuff. And there's this deeply sort of American element to his films, which I think Hollywood is obviously a part of, that he really likes. And same thing within the movie. Within the movie, there's this sort of Southern gentleman who, and then he takes that and he just sort of puts it into a blender, and different things happen. As far as, that was probably for me, that story within the movie was probably like the vaguest thing for me in the playing of it, because he was being more oblique when it came to asking questions about, you know, what is this movie we're making, you know, On High on Blue Tomorrows, the Southern movie, what is that about, you know? And he would sort of say, oh, well, you know, don't worry about that so much, focus on, you know, what we're doing in this scene, and da-da-da-da-da. Whereas he was more clear about the other stuff, which is, you're a big Hollywood actor who's going to be cast in this thing, and da-da-da-da. But in a weird way, I just sort of love it's sort of like, you know, falling off a building backwards, you know, it's sort of fun and,
Trust me.
Yeah, it's a really enjoyable thing to do, you know, knowing that the landing's going to be sort of soft.
Okay, this is a little bit, who is Devin with relationship to Lynch in real life, do you think?
I don't think, you know, I mean, I you know,
no one?
I don't think so. I think you know, Dave, as a rule, is pretty unplugged in a great way from Hollywood, and that he does not pay attention to, you know, up-and-coming stars and, you know, things like that. Yeah, you know, and you know, he doesn't read tabloids or anything like that. So I think a lot of the characters that populate his films are more sort of abstractions of, you know, little fragments that he sees in the press and stuff. I don't think he definitely has no access to Grindr. I remember in Mulholland Drive, actually, I asked him, I said, am I a certain kind of director You know,
Yeah.
and if so, who am I? Or is, you know, I was getting all into like, am I you? Am I
Right.
this? Or who, you
Well,
know.
it was your first foray into his world, so.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
you
and
were-
I was trying to latch down,
Yeah.
and then I finally sort of was able to isolate it down to the question of, am I a good director or a bad director? And he said, I don't know, So
Couldn't even distill it down to that.
Couldn't even distill it down to that. But and again, he wasn't being stubborn or trying to bum me out. He was trying to get me to understand that the best way to find out was to explore it in front of the camera with him sort of shepherding it. And that's the best way to work, when you can. It's rare when you get the opportunity to. So now, since then, through Mulholland Drive and this, I'll run to it, whenever I get a chance to work with him, because
Sure.
it's such a fun way of working,
No matter how big you are, you'll always work with Dave.
That's right.
Damn
Or
it.
how small.
Let me ask you, with these production elements, being Sony PD-150s, I mean, we shoot our show basically the same way.
Yeah.
That scene under the covers, was that you guys just holding the camera? Was there a little hole in the bed?
I don't even remember. That camera was everywhere but up our
And
own
David
asses
shot a
at
lot of
times.
it, allegedly, right? He was the
He
cameraman.
was the DP, yeah, on most of
DP
it.
on most
yeah.
of it, right?
He was the guy. Yeah, I mean, again, this was like.
So did you feel like you're almost like not even on a set? It was so fly on the wall, or did the lighting?
Yeah, no, it felt. I mean, this was definitely, as far as working in film, like the closest. That camera was the only thing separating us and him. Whereas normally, it's you, and then there's a AD, and then there's a focus puller
Second,
and a
right.
DP, and then the cable goes back to a monitor, and David's behind the monitor. This was very tactile experience, filmmaking-wise, because he a lot of times he would even direct us while we were in the middle of scenes, where he'd be sort of barking out or whispering out things that he wanted us to do, or different ways he wanted us to say the lines.
Right.
So it was a very one-on-one kind of experience that way.
Now, as somebody who works on the other side of film as well, are there things that you're going to borrow with your future work in that way? Do you think this is a good medium to work in, this kind of really small, compact, everything's micro?
Yeah.
The cost of entry to be a filmmaker today is,
I know,
1/20th.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what you're making, I guess. I just made my first film on film, and I really love film, and I haven't fully, it's sort of like getting to work with oil paints, and then everyone says, oh, we're going to watercolors,
Right.
I still would like to make another film movie, but that being said, anyone can walk into their backyard with a digital camera and make a film now, It was Coppola or someone said something about, the next Beethoven's going to come from, Gary, Indiana, or
Yeah,
something.
no,
Some
absolutely.
chubby girl in high school is going to be our next Mozart or something
Right,
like that.
yeah, of course. No, why not? And they just make it, I mean, everything's so micro.
Yeah.
It's really, the nanotechnology is just extraordinary.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you still need to have a vision. You need a good story. You
Yeah.
need to be able to put the story together. or
Absolutely,
what's the
yeah.
point? Working in film, on big 35 and then shrinking it all back down.